Little Big Man is a gentle and humorous picture book about the responsibility of becoming a big brother and the importance of family playtime. Hi, I'm Dan Skinner, and welcome to the Kids Bookshelf. Ahead, we'll explore the book, and I'll talk with the author about the inspiration behind it. Varian Johnson is the author of several books for children and young adults, including The Parker Inheritance, which was named a Coretta Scott King Honor Book. He joins us to talk about his debut picture book, Little Big Man. Varian, welcome to the Kids Bookshelf.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, this is your debut picture book, so tell us about the story that readers are going to find here.
Sure, it's about this boy named Elijah who is excited to fly his brand new kite with his father. He's been waiting all week for this. The work week is over. He can go play. But Daddy comes home with bad news. He has to work that weekend. An extra baby. A baby means extra work for everyone in the family. So Daddy asks Elijah to be his little big man and help out around the house. And Elijah fumbles and stumbles with it for a bit before eventually figuring out the best way for him to pitch in. And then after they've all done all of the work, they get to play later on that day.
So this is a case where Elijah has to sort of step into that bigger brother role and take on some new responsibilities. What was the inspiration for the story, and why did you want to tell it?
It was inspired by a couple of things. It was first inspired by my daughters. During COVID, they were home, and I was home as well, and they wanted to play all the time. While I was very worried about the outside world and trying to focus on my job of writing books. And eventually we came up with this agreement. Okay, we're going to work hard in the morning so we can play hard in the afternoon. So in the morning, we'd get up, we'd have our breakfast, I would go to my computer and I would type, and they would do their chores, they would do their schoolwork. But then in the afternoon, we got to play, and we would build Hot Wheel sets and Legos and blocks, all these kind of fantastic things. And it was a great way to make the day go by where we both worked hard and played hard. But it was also inspired by my father, although I didn't realize it until later. We had a family business growing up, a flower shop, and we were always at the flower shop working. And I can remember disliking it at first, but then looking back, while I remembered the work, I really remember the fun. I remembered all of us being together, all of us doing the work together that made time pass and just brought joy and happiness to me and to everyone there. I would say those are probably the two biggest driving things that helped to fuel the story.
Well, I want to talk more about sort of the themes in this book in just a bit, but if you would you read a portion of the book for us to give us a taste of what readers are going to find here?
Sure thing. Little Big Man, written by Varian Johnson, illustrated by Reggie Brown. Elijah pressed his face against the window. It was almost time to take his new kite for its first flight, but someone was missing. He wiggled his toes, wishing the clock would hurry up. Then, finally, snick went the key, click went the lock, yay went Elijah, wah went the baby. Mama let out a long, slow breath. Elijah? Sorry, Mama. Elijah was supposed to be quiet, but he couldn't help it. His special weekend with Daddy was finally here. Daddy smelled like sunshine and cool air and moist dirt, like the perfect afternoon. Elijah was all grins, but Daddy didn't smile back. I know he had plans this weekend, Daddy began, but I have to work. Again? Elijah felt like a kite that had lost all its wind. A new baby means extra work for everyone, so I need some help. Think you could be my little big man tomorrow? Daddy asked. Elijah knew what that meant. No running, no jumping, no yelling, no fun. I have an idea. Daddy picked him up so they were face to face. How about we practice?
You used a phrase in there about Something like, smelling like fresh air and warm dirt or whatever that was. I'm getting it wrong, I know, in repeating that. But what's poetic about this is you repeat that later in the book as well. It's kind of a recurring theme about that perfect afternoon and sort of the sensory inputs of what that perfect afternoon would be like, which the sort of thing that would linger in a child's imagination, something that maybe in an adult you would remember those sensations about being a child.
You're right. And that was, lots of that came through revision. I don't know if that line was even there in the first draft. And it changed so much from first draft to final book. But the idea of perfect afternoons being full of sunshine and cool air and moist dirt, I wanted kind of these tangible things that really, in Elijah's mind, equated to what the perfect weekend was or the perfect afternoon was. And then he can still have those perfect afternoons, even with Lily, even with a new baby, even though he feels like they've maybe all gone away.
So this is a picture book. So for what age is the book intended?
So we'd like to say that this is for our youngest readers, kids all the way up through, say, second grade, third grade, 4 to 8, certainly even younger as well, too, of being read to. What I do love about the book is there's all these onomatopoeia words in there, these sounds, and it makes for a great read aloud. It makes for a great opportunity for a young reader to participate with all the smash and crash and snick and click sounds in the book.
I'm talking with Varian Johnson about his picture book, Little Big Man, and our conversation will continue. If you're enjoying this discussion, please subscribe, like, and click on the bell so you know when I post new interviews. And thank you. One thing is, for younger children, they're going to be read to by an adult. So you kind of keep that adult audience in mind as well, because as you well know as a parent, if you don't like that book, it's not going to get read as much as some other books.
I cannot lie. When my daughters were much younger, there was one book they loved that I did not love, and I would try to hide it, and they would always find it. I am thinking about the adult reader, although not primarily. I am thinking about the child reader or listener first. But I do hope it's a book that adults will like and gravitate towards, and maybe there's something in there for an adult too. Or at least I hope it's something that's fun for the adult to read and to find something new every time they read it.
And I think it spoke to me, I think it speaks to a lot of adults about remembering that we need to make time in our lives to play with our kids and also just to play ourselves and not just work hard all the time because we're missing out on that other part of life.
Exactly. I think we get so focused on providing for our family, protecting our family, that we forget about the joys of downtime, the joys of playtime. And we all need that to stay balanced, to stay sane. And I think it's something that Elijah knows, and it's something that his dad maybe has forgotten a little bit that Elijah gets to remind him of.
One of the things I liked in the book is this mirroring in the book of you'll have the father at work and Elijah doing his work, and they're side by side in the illustrations. So you can kind of see how perhaps Elijah is influenced by his father and wants to emulate him. But I thought that was really cute, the way that was done.
Elijah loves his father so much. Reggie did such a great job with the illustrations too. So while I had that written and certainly alluded to in the text, Reggie really brought that to the light with the Life to Illustrations, seeing how Elijah patterns after his father, how there's a repetition of things that the father does with Elijah and the things that Elijah does with his father later on. Reggie just brought all those things to life.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about is, you've written books for various age readers, and this is your first picture book. And a lot of people may look at a picture book and say, oh, that's easy, but they're not, because you have a limited amount of words, a limited amount of pages, and you have to tell a whole story. So what kind of challenge did that pose for you?
It took me a long time to figure out how to write a picture book. I've had many, many successful novels. I'm very lucky, very blessed. And I have this one picture book and hopefully more. And it's not for lack of trying. It's just they're so hard. As you mentioned, there's so few words and every word has to count. And it's got to be a story that can be illustrated, that has space for illustrations to tell a story as well, too. You combine all those things together, And it's just very, very difficult. I'm really, really lucky to be teamed up with Scholastic and Orchard Books, and also with Reggie Brown with the illustrations of this book to kind of give it its best foot forward to make it the best book that it could be.
And as you mentioned, this is so different from the other books that you've written. So what did this process teach you about writing and about yourself?
Perseverance, I think. I think every story is a different type of story when I'm writing it. I had to teach myself how to write a story or a novel every time I'm trying to write it. But this one was a lot of work. And it was really interesting because so much of it changed by the time it got to the end of the book. Elijah was there and Daddy was there. And that may be about it. I think there wasn't a mom or a baby in some versions of the story. There wasn't a kite in some versions of the story. But there was always this idea of working hard and playing hard within the story. And it was just what vehicle can we create to get that message across?
I'm curious about your personal journey to become an author, because I understand you originally were studying engineering.
Yes, I was a civil engineer for 16 years. I specialized in bridge design, highway bridges, and I loved it. And I miss it sometimes still. But even when I was doing engineering, I loved writing, and I loved doing both. I was fortunate to be able to do both for many, many years, and now I primarily write full time with the occasional other thing here or there. But to me, they're not that different. Writing, when I'm designing a bridge, you design from the top down and you build from the bottom up. And when I'm writing a book, I find it very similar. I kind of have these big ideas that trickle down, but then I have to build up the story and have a good foundation and base, and then add more to it so I can get a character or a reader and a character, I say, from A to B, from this place to that place. And that's exactly what the bridge does too.
As you mentioned, getting the reader, maybe your character in the book, from one place to another. And one of the themes we talked about in this book is taking time to be with family. What are some of the other takeaways for readers of this book?
I think one takeaway was that if you make mistakes, that doesn't mean you stop. I love that Elijah has some oopsies, some boo-boos as he's trying to figure out how to help out. And while he gets discouraged a little bit, saying, being big is hard work, it's not fun, his father encourages him that it could be a good thing, that he'll find his way. I think so many times in the real world, I'll be honest, we see a kid trying to help out and we say, oh, that's okay. Just, go over there, do your own thing, and I'll take care of this. And he's like, no, we all need to pitch in. His father's like, we all need to pitch in. And Elijah wants to pitch in as well, too. He just has to figure out the best way for him to pitch in to help his family.
The picture book is Little Big Man by Varian Johnson. Varian, thank you for talking with me today.
Thank you for having me. I really, really appreciate it.
If you'd like to purchase Little Big Man, I've placed a link for you in the description below. If you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe, like, and click on the bell so you know when I post new interviews. Meanwhile, here are 2 more books you might find interesting. Well, thank you for watching this edition of The Kids Bookshelf. I'm Dan Skinner. Until next time, keep sharing the gift of reading.